6 p.m. And so we'll begin, and the first presentation we're going to have is from the water distribution system, and it is good to have water. So shall we invite folks up? Who is going to talk on this one?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members
Yes.
of the council, tonight we'll have our Water Systems Distribution Manager, Matt Say,
Okay.
come up and speak to you about that very topic.
Thank you, Matt.
Well, Mayor and council members, Matt Say, I'm the Distribution and Engineering Manager for the Water Department. Going to give you guys an overview of our water distribution system main replacement program, where our funds currently are, what we anticipate seeing in the future, and just an overview of our system and everything. So it's not a real long presentation, so just jump in and interrupt at any time if you guys have any questions or anything. So, go through the presentation. I'll start with just a general overview of our system. So you guys may be familiar with it, but just run through some of the mileage and stuff. Our water main leaks and breaks and how they compare across the nation, or the North America. And our water main replacement, how we identify and prioritize projects, construction administration, how we carry that out, and current and future costs of the program. So we have about approximately 766 miles of water main in our distribution system, so it's pretty big. They range, all the pipes range in size from 2-inch diameter galvanized mains to 36-inch diameter transmission mains. We have 5 pump stations, 5 water storage facilities, and there are 4 emergency interconnects with Kansas City, Missouri. Those are interconnects we hope to never use, just in the event of an emergency. And there's approximately 48,400 retail customers, and we have 12 wholesale customers also tied to our distribution system. So our system experiences about 5 breaks or leaks per week on average, which I could have worded that a little better, I guess. That's if you average it over the year. Realistically, we may experience 10 breaks a week in August and no breaks in March, but over the year it averages out to about 5 breaks or leaks per week. Breaks can occur any time of day, come in the middle of the night, during the day. We prefer during the day, but that's not always the case. Immediate repairs are often required as people may be out of water, so we need to get them back in water service. And site restoration always follows the repairs, so we'll repair a main break, and then we have to wait for all the ground to dry up and everything, so settlement is reduced, and then we go back and fix driveways, pavement, grass, whatever it may be. So we pretty much have an ongoing list of site restorations out there. So in comparison to what you see in North America, we experience about 0.34 water main breaks per mile of main annually, and in North America they average about 0.25. Some of that could be because we see the extremes on both sides in the hot summer and cold winters, so I guess that could be some of the reason we see it a little bit higher, but we also have an aging distribution system. We, in recent years, have replaced 1 to 2 miles of our distribution system per year, and our goal would be to increase that to 7.66 miles. And where that number comes from is it's 1% of our distribution system. So ductile iron pipe has a service life of 100 years. If we can replace 1% of our distribution system annually, that would be a 100-year replacement plan. So that's where we got the 7.66 miles. So in order to reach our goal, I'll go through how we identify and prioritize our main replacement projects. As we're increasing the replacements, we're gonna have to figure out the balance between in-house engineering and consultants, contracted construction versus self-performed construction. We're gonna just have to find the best balance for how our money will go the farthest. So this goes over our prioritization program. So we do have a GIS map that has dots all over the map for where we experience main breaks, so you can visually look across our distribution system on the map and visually identify areas that need some attention. And that's how we develop. We've got a list of, there's about 120 projects that we identified. So we enter them into the spreadsheet that's a triple bottom line analysis, and we enter all the information from all the different projects, how many main breaks have occurred, what type of pipe it is, how old it is. All of these variables have factors assigned to them that we can use to get a data-driven approach to how to prioritize these. It's put into this spreadsheet that you can see on the screen that has 3 different overall evaluation factors. That's likelihood of failure. That's driven by the number of breaks that experienced or the age of the pipe, how likely it is to break. Consequence of failure, that's by who's served. So it might serve a school, nursing home, hospital, those would have a higher consequence of failure. And then benefit of replacement. That could be things like if you've got a 2-inch galvanized water main and you're going to replace it with a 6-inch diameter main, you're going to increase capacity for fire protection, stuff of that nature. That would be a benefit of replacement. So these are the different categories. Right now, likelihood of failure pretty much drives our prioritization because we have a lot of low-hanging fruit out there of, you can see on this graph, we have got a lot of low-hanging fruit of projects that if we can reduce the amount of main breaks that are happening, we also reduce overtime, we reduce our maintenance costs, so that would be beneficial. So this graph shows, what is it, about 115 to 120 projects. Those are on the horizontal axis. On the vertical axis, that's the score that was given to them from the triple bottom line analysis. You can see over to the right side, there's kind of a knee of the curve where it really starts turning more vertical on the graph. Those are all of the projects that are driven by likelihood of failure. That's the low-hanging fruit I referenced. So once we finish that section of the graph, we may go back in and evaluate our how we weight the criteria. Because once we get rid of everything that's had a lot of breaks, then we might look at more benefit or replacement or consequence of failure is driving the prioritization. So most of our projects are currently designed, bid, and administered by our water department staff. If we get close to the 1% replacement, we will need to bring in some consultants because we just won't have the manpower to do it unless we want to do increased staff. But right now, we foresee using more consultants for that work. Most of our projects have been contracted in recent years. We are evaluating whether it makes sense to bring on a dedicated construction crew to self-perform some of that work in addition to the contracted work. So those are all things that we're going to evaluate as we're increasing the amount of main we're replacing every year. So as I said earlier, we currently replace 1 to 2 miles of main per year. The goal is 7.66 miles per year, so it's a significant increase from what we're doing now. The average cost of water main replacement is about $1 million per mile. That's a rule of thumb. Those costs are increasing. Recently, we've seen some cost increases due to the material shortages. There's lead time. There's all kinds of things we're battling with the market right now. But so our anticipated budget, if you go by that $1 million per mile, we currently spend about $2 million a year. In the future, we're looking at getting up to 7.6 to 9.1 million, somewhere in that range. The good news is, right now we're in a good position. When we roll into the new fiscal year in July, we're going to have about $8 million in the fund for water main replacement projects. If we increase, and I don't have my glasses on, I got to look at the screen. If we increase to about 2.7 miles next fiscal year, which we think we can do, that's going to spend the fund down to about $4 million. And then starting next fiscal year, we'll get additional $2 million put in. That's annually what we put in. The following year, if we can bump that up another mile to 3.9 miles, then we're going to spend it down to, what is that, about $3 million at the end of that fiscal year. And then we've got anticipated in the budget currently that we'll then add $3 million. So really, if you look out, it's fiscal year 25, 26 is when we're going to have a budget need to really increase the capital budget for the water main replacement projects. So we're about 3 to 4 years out, but it's something we definitely want to prepare for. But that's what we see coming. And that's 3 to 4 years out, assuming we can hit our goals. We need to increase the amount replaced every year by quite a bit. So, in summary, number of breaks we experience is above the average for North America. We currently replace less than the industry, what's recommended by the industry, the 1% replaced annually. We do have a system in place to identify and prioritize our water main replacement projects. Currently evaluating the most cost-effective approach, how much we use for consulting services, in-house services, contracted, self-performed work. And reaching our replacement goal is going to require a significant increase about 3 to 4 years down the road in our capital budget. Really, that's kind of an overview of our plan there, so happy to answer any questions if you guys have any.
Just a couple questions. That triple bottom line analysis that you talked about, how often do you redo that, or is that an ongoing process, or how does that work?
It is ongoing. We haven't redone it. We haven't gone in and revised it for a couple of years because we do have the projects right now in the immediate future are, I keep repeating low-hanging fruit, but they are. We've got a lot of projects that are just driven by the number of breaks we're experiencing. When we get more to where when we're looking at consequence of failure and benefit of replacement. It'll probably require more regular updates to it, but it is a living document. Yeah, it is something that we need to, as main breaks that happen, we need to update all of the numbers on those projects that have been identified, and
Okay.
that will be something we'll have to just constantly review.
Okay. And in 2026, when it comes time to try to find more money for the capital improvements budget, what are the options on where that money might come from?
Yeah. I'm looking at Dan for that one, but I don't know if it's a rate increase or if it's reallocating our current funds. I'd let Dan.
Dan Montgomery, Water Systems Director. So, yes, to answer that question, we would have to look at that and decide what we would choose to do. And, part of it, we wholesale half of our water, so whatever we do, we'll have to do a cost of service study done by an outside consultant in order to do any kind of a rate increase, whether it's to our own customers or to our wholesalers. So that would be a part of when we would do this. So I don't know if that helps answer the question.
So we'd start that process and kind of evaluating that, what, in 2024, 2025? What's the?
Right, it'd probably take them, you'd probably go out for proposals and probably take 6 months to get all that in together. We have to go through finance. All of the accounts that we do, we have everything's in transmission mains, distribution mains. So we'd have the cost associated with each one of those. And from that, we would share, like if we were going to do transmission mains, we could help, the wholesalers would help pay for that. So before we do a cost of service study, we want to make sure that this money is used before we go in and do it, because otherwise,
Sure, otherwise they're saying, here's you got a bunch
exactly.
of money to do.
So you're catching the drift there.
I got it, yeah. Okay. All right. I don't think I have anything else right now. Thank you.
I think the only other thing we're struggling with is, like Matt was saying, is the materials, the cost of materials, availability of materials. We've had contractors decide to pull off and not continue with the project because it's going to take them 6 to 8 months to get the materials in. And then we've got the lead and copper rule, and we're going after grant money for that. And if that goes through, it's going to be more people and more contractors that are going to be in the market. And do we have enough contractors to perform the work? And all that's driving the cost up. So projects that have, been $1 million a mile, we're seeing in excess of that, and the lead time on everything. So there's some serious issues that are coming our way, but we're trying to take care of everything we can now.
Mr. Mayor. Dan, when's the last time we raised rates on our wholesale customer?
Oh, at the same time we did on our customers. It's been 10 or 12 years. 16? 2016. Well, and that's the beauty, with those wholesale customers, because we wholesale half of our water, and that's a third of the revenue that we're, they're handling their distribution and their meter reading and all that stuff. But the cost that we're gaining from that, being able to spread that over 250,000 people versus just Independence residents, has helped keep our rates down all this time. So it's been a good mix for us. So.
Well, I'm always okay with raising some of the wholesale prices as long as the residential hold fast as much as we can, since we have they have the ability to do that. Since you're a water provider for so many areas, I'm just curious why it would be unreasonable to begin to put those types of adjustments and raises in place now.
Well, we went through that with I'm probably one of the 2 or 3 people that were here when Missouri Water Company was purchased by the city. And in order to get that through, they had to go before the Missouri Public Service Commission. And they then all negotiated contracts that they're continuous, that you can't get out of those contracts. And those contracts include the fact that we have to do a cost of service study based on a certain method, base extra capacity method of AWWA. There's no way we can increase just the wholesalers. It has to be wholesalers and the other customers. It has to be based on the true cost of doing business. So there's no way that we can just go out and pick and choose who we could send the cost to without doing a cost service study.
The true cost of business has gone
Exactly.
astronomically higher. So
Right.
we've got to get to that place where we're being proactive and begin the consideration of raising those rates. Otherwise, with materials and labor, we're gonna be looking at a deeper hole. And my guess would be, because I don't have the crystal ball of optimism that Zach carries, but that it'll probably come sooner rather than later. So I hope we have a proactive
Yes, we're definitely on
plan
it.
to do so.
We're keeping eyes on it and watching our cash flow and the direction we're heading. And I think Matt say what he said was that's the time frame that we're looking at having to really address it. So it's not necessary right now. It's not even a discussion at this point until we spend down those funds to do what we need to do, and then we'll address it.
Okay.
Comments, questions? All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And is communications update. So,
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Meg Lewis, Public Information Officer, is here to give you an update on the citywide communications plan.
thank you. And Ms. Lewis, proceed when you're comfortable.
As Zach said, I am Meg Lewis. I am the communications manager for the City of Independence and oversee our communications and outreach efforts. I did want to start tonight by highlighting our team from the communications division. We have our digital production manager, who is Steve Wagner. He is the person behind the scenes that is making tonight's meeting possible for everyone that is joining us on YouTube. We have Madison Need, who is one of our newest team members. She joined us about a year ago, and she is a digital content specialist, but largely does a lot of our graphic design. Melissa Mockery is our newest addition to the communications division, and her title is Communications and Public Education Outreach Coordinator, but her job is to communicate and educate on the utilities and all of those different pieces that go with it. So some of the key objectives from the communications plan and the communications division are to inform, educate, engage, and grow. When I started with the city about 5 years ago, there were 5,000 followers on our Facebook page. We had not yet joined Nextdoor. We were not on Instagram, and we rarely posted. Since then, we've grown to more than 18,000 followers on Facebook, 27,000 households on Nextdoor, and I use these as an example of how we are working to meet and exceed these keys and objectives. So while I understand that it's hard for you guys to read, you do have a copy in your packet of this highlights from 2020, 2021. We look back at the fiscal year for this time frame. Some of the key things I want to point out, we were working in a very different environment in 2020, 2021. That is why we had 222 live meetings. That is all of those public meetings that would have usually met with people in a room like this. We had 195 Instagram posts. We have already exceeded that in a month in 1 year, 2022. And we had 32 new videos because staff resources were allocated and focused on those public meetings. The last 3 years and a few years since we have given the update on the communications have been incredibly busy. We have references here from 2020 and 2021. Obviously, we had unprecedented cold in 2021. We had technological challenges. We had unique needs for our citizens that we're utilizing every platform in the city to inform as quickly as we could on the changing environment and the needs of the citizens that we are serving on a regular basis. So again, just a quick overview of some of the things that we were covering. I wanted to lay that groundwork so we can sort of show what's happening so far in 2022. This is the last 4 months, and we can talk about May if you're so inclined, but we are averaging 200 posts on Facebook pages across the city, 100 posts on our different Instagram pages. We are updating our LinkedIn on a more regular basis. We are utilizing Nextdoor to engage with neighborhoods in the city as a whole. We are utilizing Twitter to engage with the media and a sort of different demographic that is more inclined to be news readers. We are averaging 60 graphics a month. That is, our team is designing, creating, and distributing over 60 graphics a month. We're doing more than a dozen press releases on a regular basis, and those are included in the email communications that also have our various newsletters. So with those sort of numbers, these are the different services the communications division provides to all of the city. We oversee the brand, which you have an example behind you that was implemented in 2019. We oversee the communications planning for distribution of information on service changes, programs, events, etc. We oversee the community engagement for events like the New Generation Town Hall that took place in April, or the online town halls that we have done over the last few years. We do all of the creative design and graphics for the city. We oversee all of the marketing for the city. We oversee all of the media and public relations for the city. My team is in charge of photography from an in-house perspective. So unless we have brought in a photographer for a special event, they are the ones that are out there taking the pictures of everything that's going on. We oversee the public meetings like this here today and the events that take place in the IUC 117, Independence Utility Center 117. I apologize for a little internal jargon there. We maintain all of the videos and video creation for the city, and we oversee some of the website updates in collaboration with tech services. So what to know? I wanted to highlight a few things for our citizens and the council of importance that we are regularly communicating about, and the platforms that we are communicating on. If you have not already signed up for the weather alerts, this is a good time to do so. It is indep.us/weather alerts. You can receive a text message, phone call, or email in the event of a severe weather situation in our city, or other emergencies will be utilized on that platform. We are responsible for monitoring and maintaining all the social media channels of the city, so you can see the list there of the many different platforms that we are working on or with. Police department does have their own PIO that oversees directly their Facebook and Twitter, but we are regularly working with them to develop content and materials for that platform. And we are also updating on programs, events, and services. So you see the example of the Palmer Center activities. I just got the Palmer Center activities catalog that will be going out for July in my inbox tonight. We oversee 2 monthly newsletters and a biweekly update. So if you have not already signed up for the Digital City Scene, we strongly encourage you to do so. And the utilities newsletter automatically goes out to our utilities customers. So the city scene is reaching approximately 13,000 residents via digital and 300 via print. The Independence Utilities newsletter is going out to about 42,000 of our customers every month with key information about our utility services. And then the Independence Today is a web newsletter that we utilize after the day after every one of our council meetings to provide information on some of the key votes and key information of upcoming events around that time frame. Two of the other things the communication division helps oversee and communicate on: our YouTube channel. We are almost up to 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. This is a great way for the citizens not only to see our live meetings, to engage with our live meetings, but to also see educational videos on various things. There was a tremendous series that was done for Black History Month that talked about the story of the Neck from residents of the Neck neighborhood itself, and it's a phenomenal series that Steve put together for that. We also oversee and educate on the InDep Now app, which is available on Apple and Android devices. One thing that we are asking from the council and the general public is to help us tell the stories. If you see something positive happening in our community, if there is a program that you're excited about, if there is a way for us to share the positives that are happening around us, as citizens, as council, as staff, we are regularly looking for those news stories. So it's activity season. We get to talk about all the fun things happening at our different historic sites. We get to highlight some of the history that is part of our community through the different heritage months, and we are informing them on the important things. This is the drop-off depot from last Saturday. There is a free drop-off depot this Saturday, if those have not already seen that, out there from June 18th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. for free, only lemon brush for Independence residents. But we are constantly looking for new ways to tell the stories of our city through the lens of the citizens, the programs, the services, etc. And with that, I will open it up for questions from the council.
Any questions or comments, concerns? Go ahead.
Well, I would just say I appreciate all the efforts to keep us up to speed and in communication on the things that are important for us. Just like, especially like this last week is a perfect example with the storm and the aftermath of that, and then being able to know that, I mean, I talked to people that said, well, is the city going to open up the drop-off? I said, yes, they are. And so, I don't think I get anything special. I just get the normal stuff that you send out. And so I appreciate that effort and what comes through on that. So that's really helpful.
Well, and I did want to highlight that there is a very small team that's doing all of that. So whenever we have those emergency events, it is me and usually one other person that is responsible for all of the communications on it. So that's long days, helping communicate to staff, helping communicate to the public, and keeping the public informed as to what's happening, why it's taking so long, what they can do in the meantime, et cetera, and so forth.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, proceed.
thank you. Ms. Lewis, thank you for all that you do. Would you mind giving a very, very short rundown of what you use the different social media platforms for and where people can find links to those?
Sure. So we use the different social media platforms to provide information on upcoming events, programs, services, and news from the city. Facebook and Nextdoor are one of the easiest places to find some of that information because they allow for longer pieces of text there. So generally, we will provide our full news release on Facebook and Nextdoor, as well as the city's website, and then any graphics associated with that news release are also put on Facebook and Nextdoor. Twitter, we utilize for links to those news releases and quick shares of information from other organizations that we are following, such as FEMA, the CDC, or regional peers that are sharing information that may be relevant to our citizenry as well. LinkedIn, we're highlighting our staff. For example, one of our, I think at least two of our staff members that are sitting over here have recently received awards, so we highlighted those awards on LinkedIn from that professional platform. The crossover between the different pages is fairly consistent. Instagram, obviously, we can only post if there is an image associated with it. So we are either having a picture, video, or graphic developed to put information on that page, or that platform, rather.
Very good. Anything else, Councilman?
Just, Meg, where can you
Where can you find those
it easy
links?
enough to, yeah.
You can find those on the city's website. There's a link at the bottom of the page. You can find the link in our city newsroom section of the website. You can find a link on every city scene that you get in your inbox. You can find a link at the bottom of every newsletter if you signed up for the city's newsletters. So we are regularly providing links and information to connect to all of those different platforms.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. With that being said, we can adjourn the meeting. All right. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.